So I'm in a different location, and this setup is different because I'm in Brussels right now, and I'm going to be speaking in a conference called the Philia Conference or the Philia Forum, and that forum is for philanthropic organizations around Europe to have critical conversations around issues surrounding climate change, social justice, democracy, and so on. And I'll be discussing in a conversation around combating misinformation and online hate. And it kind of spurred me to kind of think and talk to you today about the work that we do in narrative change in GERM and why narrative change is so important. The conversation that I'll be joining is hosted by an organization called the European Philanthropic Initiative for Migration. And they are doing so much work in the area of narrative change, in the area of migration, and in the area of understanding migrant experiences. So I kind of wanted to talk about narrative change and why it's necessary in Ireland today. Hi, my name is Mamobo Ogoro, founder of GERM and social psychologist. And if you want to learn about narrative change and how we do it in GERM, subscribe. The stories that we tell ourselves, our communities, and our country at large are shaped by narratives. Narratives are so powerful and they shape our culture, our beliefs, and determine how we interact with the world around us. In Ireland, we have a country that is dedicated and bounded by stories and narratives, but some of them need to evolve and really shape the current reality and the contemporary society that we are right now. What does narrative change kind of look like in Ireland? And I'm going to give you a short synopsis of what I see it, how it kind of came from my own PhD research, and how I feel we should be going forward as a society, let's say. So, what is narrative change? Simply put, it's the process of evolving the stories in our culture to center and distribute accurate and empowering stories. These stories shape our understandings, the way of who we are, the way we are, and who we stand for, and what's possible for our future. So, narrative change is essential for fostering a more inclusive, and resilient, and forward thinking society. Right now in Ireland, we're facing so many challenges, such as economic inequality, homelessness and unhoused individuals, polarization, social inequality, and so many inequalities and injustices that do not serve us as a society. These all perpetuate into narratives of who belong and does not belong in society. And in my own research, I kind of looked at how it affected second generation migrants. And yes, guys, it's that thing, the PhD needs to finish. It needs to finish this year. It will finish, inshallah, this year. And when it comes to my own research, there's still a bit of work that needs to be done in terms of narrative change in Ireland. My work kind of looks at how systems of inclusion and exclusion affect belongingness in Ireland. And I look at how media narratives paint first and second generation migrant communities in Ireland. And what I found is that there's still a sort of one way of seeing Irishness. Usually that's white, heterosexual, heteronormative, and all the main, like the one track way of kind of seeing seeing Irishness, and that's perpetuated in mainstream media. So when it comes to narrative change, we need to kind of evolve our way of thinking, and particularly if you're working in an organization that is working with underrepresented communities and using storytelling as a way to move the dial, let's say, and move dialogue forward to create that narrative change. Here are some ways that you can start doing that within yourself and within your organization as well. First, we need to understand your audience, know who you're talking to, their concerns, their values, and their worldviews, and categorize your audience into segments. Second, you need to understand your narratives and your frames. Narratives are connections of stories that convey a common worldview. So frames are the perspectives, are the way people view these stories. So to shift narratives, we must recognize and observe existing frames and biases, and then introduce new frames and biases that are linked with the current frames and moving that forward. For example, in GERM, what we do is we know our audience is kind of younger. So in order to bring narratives of, let's say, social justice and topical issues, we kind of link it with what they're already talking about, i.e. pop culture, Drake, Kendrick. If you know the beef, you know the beef. Third, create actions and messages that are framed by common values. Start with shared values like shared humanity, community. Avoid naming and shaming. Instead, offer enabling narratives where people can see themselves as part of the solution. Lastly, it takes a village. Narrative change doesn't happen overnight or in isolation. We need a collaborative ecosystem of practitioners, stakeholders, funders, government, community, all these stakeholders and people unify together so we can start moving narratives forward and evolving the current frames in which people are seeing or in which people are excluding certain communities in society. And using resources like stories that we share in Germ on our page. If you want to go to our page, we have different conversations with people from different communities across Ireland. You can actually see how these narratives are moving forward and how people on the ground are communicating who they are, their identities, and their group-based belonging. In Ireland, we have the power to change harmful narratives and promote stories that reflect our values of inclusivity, resilience, and unity. By working together, we can understand our audience, framing our messages, and we can shift the narrative landscape for the better, where people from different, diverse backgrounds can feel like they belong and they are part of our wider society.